Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and in this week's video we're going to be going through my full review of the pistol grip sets from Talon grips. Let's check it out. Now before we hop into the review, for those of you who may not be familiar with the Talon grips pistol grip tape sets are essentially laser cut textured grip tape that will mold onto the grip of your handguns and give you just a little bit of extra texture or grip onto your firearm. Grip tape kits like these are a common substitute for a full-on stipple job that actually modifies the physical frame of your weapon. These you just kind of stick and wrap around, heat them up a little bit, and they stick on in place. Talon grips makes a variety of different textures, and they make a grip tape for just about all common types of handguns. Glocks, SIG, you name it, they probably have it. Their three main textures are a rubber base, which is something that I don't quite use. Their pro granulate, which is kind of like a middle ground between grit and texture. And then they also have their regular granulate that I have on my Glock 34 here. This is a super aggressive texture, kind of akin to something more like 120 grit sandpaper or even skateboard tape. This is their most aggressive texture and is not something that I would probably recommend for an everyday carry, because it will definitely be irritating on your skin after more than an hour or so. I've talked about the pro granulate before here, which is a nice middle ground with rubber textures, and it's what I've used on my EDC Glock 19 here for the past, I don't know, 18 months or so. Depending on which texture you get, maybe even the size of your grip here, Talon grips run anywhere between $20 and $25, not super expensive. In terms of installation, they're pretty quick and easy. You just clean your handgun grip off, wrap the grip tape around. It's a little tacky and sticky when you first get it. Just kind of push it into place wherever you want it, lining it up with a couple notches around the buttons and other controls, just sort of like indexes. And when you have it about where you want it, give it a good firm press and then hit it with something like a hairdryer or a heat gun. It'll activate the adhesive and you're pretty good to go. But now that I've had these Talon grips here on my EDC gun and also this 34 that I use more as a range bell gun for well over a year now, coming up on 2 years actually, I decided it'd be a good time to go through a full review of what I think about these pistol grips and how they've held up over the year. That being said, the two main areas that we generally like to talk about whenever we do a full review on products are one, product's performance. How good is it at doing what it's supposed to do? In that case, how good are these grips at actually being grip taped? Are they grippy enough? Things like that. Then the last topic is of course going to be overall longevity or durability. Sure, they might perform well, but how long do they hold up over time? So getting into the review, the first category we're going to touch on is overall performance. How good are these Talon grips at actually being pistol grips? Now there's not as much general flexibility I suppose as compared to a full-on stipple job, but for the price you have 3 different options that could probably suit whatever purpose you're looking to have. The rubber grips are something I don't have, and those are more marketed towards just being a bit more comfortable or perhaps making the grip just a little bit larger. But the pro granulate here I find really shines in an EDC capacity for those looking to have just a little bit more grip texture on your firearm. I remember wanting to pick these up because my stock Glock grip texture on here was just not quite enough, and on the hotter days wherever your hands would get sweaty or something like that, it would just slip around a little too much. Of course, this is my concealed carry EDC firearm and I carry an appendix, so this pistol grip here is going to be rubbing against my body a lot when I'm carrying the weapon, so I didn't want something super abrasive that would tear me to ribbons after a couple days of carrying it. And that's where the pro granulate really shines. The grip texture is made out of rubber granulate grips as opposed to something like a sandpaper or something where it's more like a hard mineral, and the rubber granulate texture is actually a super nice medium between aggressiveness and overall comfort. The texture at the end of the day is made out of little rubber pieces, so it doesn't tear your skin up too bad, but all of the little granulates and particles in here do a really good job at helping you improve purchase on the firearm. It solved the exact problem I had with the stock Glock grips here, and they do fit absolutely perfectly on here. They're laser cut very well, they were easy to install, and they have performed perfectly for what I want them to. And these pro granulate Talon grips are definitely something I would recommend for somebody that's looking for a little bit more grip on your EDC firearm, but you're not quite wanting to shell out all the money that a full stipple job would require. For the regular granulate texture here on the Glock 34, it is super aggressive, and I mean my hand sticks to this like it's made out of glue. I usually carry it on a belt holster, so it is positioned away from my body a little bit, and you don't have to worry about this texture rubbing up against you all day. That is something very important to consider, and I would not recommend carrying your concealed carry firearm with this particular Talon grip's texture. I've also found that the granulate texture here is so aggressive and even kind of tacky on fabrics, so when you're carrying it under your shirt and you go to draw from concealment, it's more and more likely to get caught on this actual grip and kind of even stick to it, almost like if it was a staticky type thing. Not something I would recommend, and it's kind of a hassle for drawing from concealment, but you're going to get the absolute maximum grip available, especially from a $20 grip like this. Not so much a good fit for EDC purposes, but for range bout purposes, or even if you're wearing gloves, it is a clear winner. Again, the fit and finish on this is just as good as the Pro Granulate material, and it fits the Glock 34 full-sized grip perfectly. So overall, from a performance standpoint, I would definitely recommend the Talon grips. It's important to match which texture is right for you based on your application, but from a performance standpoint, it's a clear winner here from me. Now moving on from performance to the sort of longevity and durability aspect of the Talon grips here, it is important to remember that this is an adhesive tape that wraps around your grip, and it's only about $20–25. It's not going to be as permanent as the stipple job that I keep comparing this product to, but for a $20 kit, that's definitely something to keep in mind. That being said, here starting out with the range gun, I definitely don't use this one as much or carry it in and out of holsters and everything like that compared to my EDC gun here, but the aggressive texture definitely has a bit more life to it in my opinion. It's more aggressive, so the material here is actually kind of like a mineral compound instead of just rubber, so it is going to be naturally more durable. You might have different results depending on what you're up to, but as far as the durability here on my Glock 34 with the regular granulate material, it basically looks the same as the day I put it on there. There's definitely no peeling around the edges or anything like that. It definitely adheres to your weapon very, very well. You don't have to have any issues or concerns about it peeling away. The texture itself has remained just as grippy and tough as it had when I got it, and overall the grip quality on this particular firearm has remained just as it has right out of the box. Going on to my EDC option here with the Pro Granulate material, this one does see a lot more use and therefore wear and tear. This granulate texture is also a rubber compound instead of more of like the sandpaper mineral matrix that I've been talking about, so it is naturally less durable. The texture itself has held up to be pretty much the same for when I put it on there. I will note that the texture on the Pro Granulates is a slightly more aggressive as soon as you get it out of the box, but once you start using it and grabbing the gun a bit more, all the tough little rough peaks on the rubber bits will wear down a little bit, but I think that's an improvement in my opinion. It's a little aggressive out front for what it is, but after you kind of get through a quick little break-in period, it kind of wears the sharp corners off of the little rubber bits, and it's actually a pretty nice texture. And overall, from that perspective, it still has held up and done its job. In terms of peeling and overall fitment of the grip, again, no problems, just like the granulate material. It's still lined up just where I had it when I put it on there, and there's no edges or corners peeling up, nothing like that. No rips or tears that I've managed to put on it. The Talon Grip's adhesive has definitely held up so far over the past 18 months or so. No concerns about it at all. That being said, there are a couple wear spots on this grip here where some pieces of the outer layer of texture have ripped off. This is mainly found on the left side of the grip here where your right thumb would be. That's mostly because you move your thumb up and down to access the controls, be it the mag release or the slide release, things like that. You're moving your thumb a whole lot like this the whole time. Doesn't really affect the grip at all because most of the grip here is around the front with my fingers, and on the back side where my palm would be, I never noticed these pieces coming off and they didn't peel off in big strips. I guess they just kind of wore out and fell off throughout use. And if you look at the wear a little bit closer, you'll see that the base layer of the grip tape is actually still on the gun, so that base layer of adhesive is incredibly strong. It's just the very outermost layer has kind of peeled off in just these high wear areas. Now, if you're left-handed and your controls are on the other side, you'll likely see that same wear pattern over here, right where your thumb moves around the most. Everywhere else on the gun where your hand is pretty much stationary, such as around the front of the grip or the side here where your palm rests, there's virtually no visible wear and tear. Pretty much the same as when I got it. Overall, I'd still give it a pretty good rating in terms of durability, but just know that if you use this gun all the time and you're moving your fingers around, that's probably where you're going to see some wear spots. And when thinking about it sort of holistically, I wouldn't really count that too much against the Talon grips. Again, it is only something that's like $20, but if you want something that's going to last for years and years and years and years and be flawless and perfect in condition, just get a stipple job up front. You'll spend a lot more money, but it's likely to last a whole lot longer. And the last thing I'd like to touch on, now that we've kind of talked about some wear that I've seen, is having to replace these grips. I definitely don't think that the little bit of wear that I've seen would necessarily require replacing these grips at all. I mean, they are still perfectly fine to use. I'd imagine you want to heat them up a little bit and just start peeling out the side, and then probably just have to clean up some residue. And they're definitely simple enough to pack back on. So if you are a little concerned about excessive wear, well, you can just peel these off in another $20 kit and you're good to go. That balance of cost versus longevity is generally up to the individual, but I would probably buy these again. Again, they've been going on strong now for about 18 months. A little bit of wear here, but definitely not something that I would replace them over. And I'm sure I'll get a couple more years out of them before I would even think about doing that. Well, that looks like it's going to be it for the video today, guys, on my full review for the Talon Grips grip tape sets that I've used on my two handguns. In terms of performance, I would definitely recommend the Talon Grips. They're precision cut and they fit the firearms absolutely perfectly, and they do a fantastic job at giving you a little bit of extra purchase or grip texture on your firearms for only about 20 bucks or so. They have a couple different options for grip textures that'll fit most of your applications, and again, for $20 you really can't go wrong. They've done a great job at what they're meant to do. In terms of overall longevity, I would definitely give them a pretty good rating also. Again, for $20, they're not quite as durable as something like a stipple job, and I have seen a little bit of wear on my Glock 19 here where my thumb tends to move up and down, but it's just a couple little patches where the grip material is worn off. There's no peeling or anything like that, and they're definitely held fast to the firearm. And overall, I would definitely give them a pretty good durability rating as well. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below. And if you have any questions about Talon grips or would like to share your own experiences with your own sets, please leave them down below in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is range day. Thank you for watching.